All Hallows, a place where students every day try to finesse the one and only Mr. Sullivan. Students get out of school feeling relieved and preparing themselves for the next upcoming battle when they enter back to school the very next day. Seniors are slowly becoming extinct because of threats from Mr. Sullivan of not getting their diploma. Here are a group of seniors all gathered together in peace, just trying to make it through their last year of high school. Look at this poor victim just trying to get his stuff out of his locker and go home in peace with his friend. Aw man, his friend looked at the camera smiling, not knowing he might be next in the food chain. Aw man, Sally got another one.
Good morning, All Hallows students. My name is Demetrius Knox, and I'm here to tell you about the incoming news affecting our school. This just in, the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of Mr. Sullivan in the case Sullivan v. U.S. The verdict has issued literally everyone will get detention if their shirts are untucked. Since now our freedom to wear our shirts untucked is taken away from us due to the Supreme Court, I believe it is necessary to go over the history of the Supreme Court and how it operates in a new skit I called The Drop with DK. The Supreme Court was established in Article 3 of the Constitution. Its first Chief Justice was John Jay, and the court's first docketed case was Van Staphorst v. Maryland. The most influential case in the early years of the Supreme Court was Marbury v. Madison, which established judicial review, which established the executive actions are subjected to review by the judiciary branch. This was the era of the Marshall Court, one of many court types. Through the history of the Supreme Court, such as Warren Court, which was liberal, or Rehnquist Court, which was conservative. The size of the court was initially 6 people. It was established in the Judiciary Act of 1789, and it became 9 people by the Judiciary Act of 1869. There's been many times the court size was adjusted, such as the Judiciary Act of 1866. The number chosen for the Supreme Court only applies to them as there are many other levels to the judiciary system. The court system of the United States first starts with the state courts, and then the cases can be moved to one of the 94 federal district courts, and if your case gets appealed, it goes to the appellate courts. If the decision is still debatable by the courts, or if it is politically decisive topic, the Solicitor General steps in and issues a writ of certiorari, so that the case makes it to the Supreme Court docket, where roughly 80 cases are heard each year. Once the court has a ruling, you essentially can't appeal it. The verdict determines the constitutionality of the cases brought to you by the court. If the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction, such as in cases involving ambassadors and disputes between other states, that case doesn't need to be called up. The Supreme Court is made of 8 associate justices and 1 chief justice. The chief justice presides over oral arguments. 4 of the justices need to approve a writ of certiorari before it is issued. The Senate can check the power of the judiciary branch by increasing the number of justices, thereby dilating the voice of the justices. All justices, chief and associate, are nominated by the president and approved by the majority of the Senate. Justices can serve a lifetime terms with good behavior. The reason why this is the case is that justices are exempt from political pressure. Most justices serve for a decade. This is why the verdict was passed in favor of Mr. Sullivan, due to the fact that every justice doesn't care what the public thinks, and they're all 95 years old. This is why America is messed up, because of stupid decisions like this. A great example of the incompetence of the court can be seen in Castle Rock v. Gonzalez. Jessica Gonzalez was a mother in Castle Rock, Colorado, who had a restraining order against her husband, Simeon. Simeon one day kidnapped her children and killed them, and then was killed by the police. When Ms. Gonzalez called the police and even visited the station, they took no action. You would think that the Supreme Court would rule in favor of Ms. Gonzalez, but instead they rule in favor of Castle Rock police, as apparently the police do not have the duty to protect you. You see, that's just ignorant. With verdicts like that, why wouldn't the justices be elected by the people? It just makes no sense. I believe the only way to combat decisions like that as a people is to lobby against the executive appointments so that injustices like this don't happen again in the future. This is why my humble opinion as a news reporter, but whoever is appointing and approving these justices needs to take a real long look in the mirror and reevaluate their career choices. Well, that's all the time we have today. This is Demetrius Knox, praying for the United States political system.